In 6 hours, my granddaughter was supposed to walk down the aisle in a ballroom I had paid for with the last of the money my late wife and I had saved for our quiet years. My navy suit was hanging on the closet door. My shoes were polished. The speech I had rewritten 14 times was folded in my inside pocket, right above my heart. I had even tucked my wife's old pearl pin into a small velvet box, because I planned to give it to Lily before the ceremony and tell her that her grandmother would have loved to see this day. Then my phone lit up on the kitchen table. A text from my son. "Dad, don't come to the wedding. Vanessa says it'll upset her family if you're there. Just leave the venue card active until tomorrow. We'll talk after." I read it once. Then I read it again, slower, like maybe the words would become something else if I gave them enough mercy. "Don't come to the wedding. Leave the venue card active. Brothers and sisters, there are moments in life when pain doesn't arrive like thunder. It comes in quietly, wearing good manners, sitting down across from you at your own kitchen table." I was 71 years old, and in that moment, I understood something I had spent years trying not to see. They didn't need me at the wedding. They needed my card. My name is Harold Whitaker. I live in a small town outside Nashville, Tennessee, in the same white ranch house where my wife, Elaine, and I raised our only son, Marcus. I spent 38 years as an electrician, crawling through attics in July heat, rewiring old houses, working Saturdays when other men were fishing, because I wanted my family to have a better life than I had. Elaine passed 5 years ago from a stroke that came out of nowhere while she was watering the hydrangeas. One minute she was waving at Mrs. Culver across the street, and the next minute our whole world had split in two. After that, Marcus became my reason to keep moving. Then Lily, my granddaughter, became the light that still came through the curtains. When Lily got engaged, she called me before she called half her friends. "Grandpa," she said, crying and laughing at the same time, "I'm getting married." I remember sitting in my recliner with the TV muted, holding that phone like it was made of glass. I could hear her fiancé, Caleb, in the background, nervous and happy. I told her what any grandfather would tell his girl. "Then we're going to make it beautiful." I meant it. The trouble started 3 months later, when the wedding budget got away from them. Not a little, a lot. The venue wanted deposits. The caterer wanted numbers. The florist doubled her estimate because somebody decided peonies were essential in September. Marcus called me one evening with that careful voice grown children use when they're about to ask for money, but want you to think it was your idea. "Dad," he said, "I hate to even bring this up. That was always how it began." I told him to come over. He did, along with his wife, Vanessa, who wore a cream-colored blazer and the kind of expression that made every room feel like a board meeting. Vanessa had married into our family 12 years before, and from the beginning, I never quite knew where I stood with her. She called me Harold, never Dad. She smiled with only her mouth. She liked things polished, expensive, and properly photographed. They sat at my kitchen table while I made coffee nobody drank. Marcus told me the wedding was becoming more complicated than expected. Vanessa said her parents had already committed to helping with the rehearsal dinner, though later I found out that meant they were choosing the menu, not paying for it. Lily was stressed. Caleb's family was modest. The deposits were due. Everyone was looking for a way to keep the peace. I looked at my son's tired face and thought of Elaine. She had dreamed of Lily's wedding. She used to say, "Harold, if we're lucky enough to see that child grown, I want her to have music and flowers and a cake tall enough to make her gasp." So I did what I had always done. I opened my checkbook. Not because they forced me, not because I'm a fool, though maybe I was in some ways. I did it because I loved my granddaughter, and because love, when you're a father and grandfather, often looks like saying yes before you've protected yourself from what yes will cost. I paid the ballroom deposit, then the catering deposit, then the photographer, because Vanessa said the cheaper one made everyone look washed out, then the flowers, because Lily sounded so small on the phone when she asked if it was too much, then the string quartet Elaine would have adored, then a block of rooms for out-of-town guests, then the final venue payment, because Marcus said it would just be easier to put it all under one card. My card, my name on the contract, my signature at the bottom. By the week of the wedding, I had paid just over $63,000. I didn't tell anyone that I had canceled the fishing trip I'd planned with my old buddy Walt. I didn't tell anyone I had postponed replacing my truck's transmission. I didn't tell anyone I had moved money from the account Elaine and I used to call our sunset fund, the little cushion we had saved for the years when the knees got bad and ladders were no longer safe. I told myself it was worth it. Because family was worth it. The night before the wedding, I laid everything out like a man preparing for church. Navy suit, white shirt, silver tie Elaine bought me for our 40th anniversary, pearl pin in the velvet box. Speech folded and refolded. I had practiced it in the bathroom mirror until I could say Lily's name without my voice breaking. I was supposed to arrive early at the venue to hand the manager the final gratuity envelopes. Vanessa had insisted cash tips looked more gracious. I had put them in neat white envelopes, each labeled in my careful block handwriting. At 7:13 the next morning, the text came. Dad, don't come to the wedding. Vanessa says it'll upset her family if you're there. Just leave the venue card active until tomorrow. We'll talk after. For a while, I just sat there. My coffee went cold. The kitchen clock ticked like it had somewhere better to be. I picked up the velvet box and opened it. Elaine's pearl pin sat there glowing softly against blue fabric. She had worn it to Marcus's high school graduation, to church on Easter, to Lily's first school play. My wife had not been a fancy woman, but she believed in saving beautiful things for days that mattered. This one matters, I whispered the night before. Now I closed the box. I typed back one word. Okay. That was all I had in me. Have you ever answered a wound with calm, brothers and sisters? Not because you were calm, but because if you said one more word, something inside you might come apart in a way nobody could put back together. That was me at my kitchen table, 71 years old, wearing house slippers, holding a phone that had just told me I was less welcome than my credit limit. I sat there until my knees ached. Then I stood up, walked to the hallway, and looked at myself in the mirror. I looked old, not the normal kind of old, not the earned kind. I looked discarded. I called Marcus. He didn't answer. I called again. Voicemail. Then, 20 minutes later, Vanessa called me from his phone. Harold, she said, brisk and low, like she was standing somewhere she didn't want people overhearing. We really don't have time for drama today. I closed my eyes. Where is my son? He's busy. The photographer's here. The wedding doesn't start until 3. There are details, Harold. I need to know why I was told not to come. A sigh. Not a sad sigh. An annoyed one. We're trying to avoid an uncomfortable situation. What situation? Another pause. My parents feel that your presence might shift attention away from Lily. I almost laughed, because I could not understand the sentence. I'm her grandfather. Yes, but you can be emotional. I was going to give a speech. We've removed that from the program. There it was. Another quiet little door closing. I looked down at the speech in my hand, at the line where I had written, Elaine would have held your face in both her hands today and told you that marriage is not made from perfect days, but from people who stay. My throat tightened. Did Lily ask for this? I said. Vanessa didn't answer quickly enough. That's not the point, she said. It is the only point. Her voice sharpened. Harold, please don't make this about you. You've already helped, and we appreciate that, but today needs to be smooth. My parents invited several important people. Caleb's family is already nervous. We cannot have you standing up there crying about Elaine and making everyone uncomfortable. I gripped the edge of the counter. Elaine was Lily's grandmother. And she's gone, Vanessa said. The words were flat. I stared out the kitchen window at the hydrangeas Elaine had planted. Vanessa continued, What we need from you today is cooperation. The vendors still have your card on file, and there may be incidentals. Just let everything process, and we'll sort the family part later. The family part. That phrase settled into me like a stone dropped into deep water. Let me understand, I said slowly. You don't want me there. You don't want my speech. You don't want Elaine mentioned. But you want my card. Don't be vulgar. Is Lily standing beside you? She's getting ready. Put her on. I can't do that. Why? Because you'll upset her. I heard laughter behind her. Women talking. Music playing faintly. A party already happening in the background of the call that was telling me not to attend the party. Then Vanessa said the sentence that finally broke the habit in me. Harold, you've done your part. Please don't make us regret accepting your help. You've done your part. Not, we love you. Not, this is hard. Not even, I'm sorry. You've done your part. I ended the call without saying goodbye. For a few minutes I stood very still. Then I walked into the den. Every wall in that room had history on it. Marcus with his first bicycle, Marcus in his football uniform, Lily asleep on Elaine's chest, Lily at age 7 wearing a paper crown and missing both front teeth, family beach trips, Christmas mornings, Little League games, baptisms, birthdays. I looked at those photographs and realized how much of my life had been spent making sure other people had memories. Then I opened the bottom drawer of my desk and pulled out the wedding folder. It was thick. Contracts, receipts, notes, payment schedules, emails, printed confirmations. Elaine used to tease me for keeping records of everything, but 38 years of electrical work had taught me that the man with paperwork sleeps better than the man with promises. The venue contract was on top. The Magnolia Room at Belhaven Estate. Client, Harold Whitaker. Authorized event representative, Harold Whitaker. Final payment card, Harold Whitaker. Cancellation terms. The event purchaser may suspend open charges and remove payment authorization at any time prior to service completion. I read that line 3 times. Then my phone buzzed again. A fraud alert from my bank. Pending charge, $4,850. Belhaven Estate, bar upgrade. I blinked. Bar upgrade? I opened my email. There it was. An invoice I had never approved. Vanessa had upgraded the reception from beer and wine to premium open bar under my account. Below that was another pending vendor hold for late floral add-ons. Then another for bridal suite extension. Then another for guest shuttle overtime. They hadn't just asked me to stay away. They had decided that once I was absent, my money could finally move around without my voice attached to it. That was the moment my sadness changed shape. It did not become rage. Rage is too loud. This was colder than that. Cleaner. I picked up my phone and called the venue. A young woman answered. Belhaven Estate. This is Rachel. Rachel, this is Harold Whitaker. I'm the event purchaser for the Donovan Pierce wedding today. Her tone brightened immediately. Oh, Mr. Whitaker. Yes, of course. We're all set for a beautiful day. I need to speak with the event manager. One moment. Piano music played on hold. I sat in my chair and looked at Elaine's pearl pin on the desk. Then a man came on. Mr. Whitaker, this is Graham Ellis, venue manager. Is everything all right? No, I said. I need to remove my card from all open incidentals immediately. A pause. All open incidentals? Yes. The base event is already paid in full. I understand. But there are several pending charges authorized by Mrs. Donovan. I did not authorize them. He was quiet for a second. Professional quiet. The kind that hears a storm forming and steps indoors. Mr. Whitaker, he said carefully, because you are the contracting party, you have the right to suspend additional charges. The event can continue as paid, but any upgrades or unpaid additions would require a new payment method. Then do that. Are you sure? I looked at the text again. Just leave the venue card active until tomorrow. Yes, I said. I'm sure. He explained the process. I confirmed my identity. He removed the card from open incidentals. He canceled the premium bar upgrade unless a new payment was provided. The shuttle overtime would require payment up front. The bridal suite extension would need to be settled by the family. The floral add-ons would revert to the original arrangement. Every sentence he spoke sounded like a lock clicking shut. When the call ended, I sat back. For the first time that morning, I breathed all the way in. 15 minutes later, Marcus called. Not Vanessa, Marcus. Dad, he said, and his voice was already tight. What did you do? I removed my card from charges I didn't approve. Vanessa is freaking out. That sounds uncomfortable. The bar package got declined in front of her mother. I imagine that was embarrassing. Dad, come on. Not today. That's what I was told. He went silent. I waited. He lowered his voice. Look, I didn't want it this way. Then why did you send the text? Because Vanessa said if you came, her parents would leave. Why? She said there's been too much history. What history? You always bring Mom into things. I stared at Elaine's photograph on the desk. I bring your mother into family milestones because she was your mother. I know, but people move on. There are sentences a son can say that turn a father's bones hollow. People move on. I thought of Elaine teaching Marcus to tie his shoes. Elaine staying up all night when he had pneumonia. Elaine crying quietly in the laundry room when he left for college. Elaine keeping every homemade card he ever gave her in a shoebox under our bed. Do you want me at your daughter's wedding? I asked. He exhaled. Dad, don't make me choose. You already did. It's not that simple. It is from where I'm sitting. Then he said it. Softer than Vanessa, but worse because he was mine. You've done enough, Dad. Let us have the day. There it was again. Enough. As if love had an invoice total, I hung up. Brothers and sisters. If you've ever been told to keep giving while being asked to disappear, you know the kind of quiet that came over my house then. It wasn't peaceful. It was the silence after something sacred breaks. I walked to the bedroom and took off the suit jacket I had put on without remembering when. I placed Elaine's pearl pin back in its box. Then I returned to the den and opened the file cabinet marked family. There were other papers in there, not wedding papers, house papers. 3 years before, Marcus and Vanessa had gotten into trouble. Not disaster trouble, but the kind that starts with lifestyle and ends with panic. Private school tuition for Lily, a leased SUV, credit card balances, a kitchen remodel that cost more than my first house. They were behind on their mortgage and too proud to admit it until the bank letters got serious. Marcus came to me in tears. I'm going to lose the house, Dad. That house was where Lily had grown up. It had the pencil marks on the pantry door showing her height each year. It had Elaine's rosebush in the front yard, transplanted from our garden after the funeral because Lily wanted grandma flowers where she could see them. So, I helped. But that time, thank the Lord, my friend Walt had told me to use an attorney. I paid off the arrears and refinanced the property through a family trust Elaine and I had created years earlier. Marcus and Vanessa stayed in the house under a written occupancy agreement. They were supposed to make monthly payments back into the trust at a modest amount, far less than rent. They made 4 payments, then stopped. Whenever I mentioned it, Marcus said things were tight. Vanessa said family doesn't nickel and dime family. Family. That word had become a key they used to open every door I owned. I pulled the trust documents out and read them slowly. The house was not theirs. The trust owned it. I was trustee. They had a signed occupancy agreement requiring 30 days written notice to terminate if payments stopped for more than 90 days. They were 26 months behind. I sat at my desk until the shadows moved across the floor. I did not call a locksmith. I did not throw their things out. I did not do anything wild or illegal or foolish. I called my attorney, a steady woman named Denise Carter, who had handled Elaine's estate. Harold, she said, are you all right? No, I told her. But I'm thinking clearly. That's a good place to start. I explained everything. The text, the wedding, the card charges, the occupancy agreement, the threats I could already feel coming. Denise listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, do you want to punish them, or do you want to protect yourself? That question stopped me. I don't know, I said. Yes, you do. I looked at Elaine's picture. I want to stop being useful to people who don't love me. Denise was quiet for a moment. Then we'll do this properly. By noon, she had prepared formal notice. 30 days to vacate the trust property unless they brought the account current, which everyone knew they could not. She also prepared revocation of Marcus's access to a small emergency account I had opened years back. She advised me to change passwords, freeze secondary cards, update medical contacts, and remove Marcus as the person authorized to discuss my banking. Harold, she said before we hung up, you're not taking revenge by refusing to be exploited. Don't let them rename your boundary as cruelty. I wrote that down. At 1:30, Lily called. I almost didn't answer, but she was my granddaughter. Grandpa? Her voice trembled. Hi, sweetheart. Are you really not coming? I closed my eyes. Did you ask me not to? No, she whispered. That one word nearly folded me in half. Then why did your father tell me not to come? She started crying. Not loud, not dramatic. The way people cry when they have been holding themselves together with both hands. Mom said you were upset about the speech, and that you didn't feel well. She said you wanted to stay home. I looked at my suit hanging in the hall. No, baby. I was dressed. Silence. Then she said, Grandpa, I wanted Grandma's pin. I covered my mouth. She said it didn't match the look, Lily whispered. But I wanted it. That was when my heart stopped being only broken and became clear. Listen to me, I said. This is your wedding day. I will not bring a storm into the middle of it. I love you. Your grandmother loved you. And none of what happened today is your fault. Will you come? I wanted to say yes. Every cell in my body wanted to get in the truck and drive to Bellhaven and stand in the back if I had to. But I had heard Vanessa's voice. I had heard Marcus's silence. I knew what they would do if I appeared. They would make Lily choose in her wedding dress, and I would not do that to her. I'm going to do something else, I said. I'm going to bring the pin to the venue office. You can decide privately if you want it. No pressure, no scene. Grandpa, and later, when you're ready, you and I will talk. I drove to Bellhaven at 2:15. It was a bright Tennessee afternoon, all blue sky and soft wind. Cars lined the gravel drive. Women in pastel dresses walked across the lawn. Men laughed near the entrance. Flowers stood in tall white arrangements by the doors. The place looked exactly like the dream I had paid for. I parked near the office, not the main entrance. Rachel met me at the side door. She recognized my name and her face softened. Mr. Whitaker? I handed her the velvet box and a sealed note with Lily's name. Please make sure my granddaughter gets this without anyone else interfering. She nodded like she understood more than I had said. As I turned to leave, I saw Vanessa through the glass doors. She was standing in the lobby with her mother, both of them dressed like they owned the building. Vanessa had her phone pressed to her ear, her face tight and furious. Beside her, a bartender in a black vest waited with a clipboard. Then she saw me. Her eyes widened. I did not wave. I did not go inside. I simply turned and walked back to my truck. My phone rang before I reached the road. Vanessa. I let it ring. Then Marcus. I let it ring. Then a text. You're humiliating us. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was perfect. I was not at the wedding. My speech was removed. My wife's memory was inconvenient. My money had been used without permission. But somehow the humiliation was theirs. At 4:05, while Lily was likely saying her vows, Denise emailed the notices for my signature. I signed electronically at my kitchen table. 30-day notice. Account access revoked. Authorized user cards canceled. Beneficiary review scheduled. Medical contact update submitted. Not one shouted word. Not one broken law. Just paperwork. Clean, quiet paperwork. That evening, I sat on the back porch with a glass of iced tea and listened to the cicadas. Somewhere across town, people were dancing under lights I paid for. They were eating food I paid for. They were taking photographs in front of flowers I paid for. And for the first time all day, I did not feel like a fool. I felt like a man who had finally found the edge of himself. At 9:42 p.m., Lily sent me a photo. No caption, just a picture of her bouquet. Pinned into the white ribbon wrapped around the stems was Elaine's pearl pin. I cried then. Harder than I had cried all day. Not because everything was fixed. It wasn't. Not because the family was healed. It wasn't. I cried because somewhere inside that expensive ballroom full of people who thought I was disposable, my granddaughter had carried a piece of her grandmother down the aisle. The next morning, Marcus came to my house. He didn't knock like a son. He pounded like a bill collector. I opened the door but left the chain on. He looked exhausted. His tie was gone. His eyes were red. Behind him, Vanessa sat in the passenger seat of their SUV, arms crossed, sunglasses on, facing forward like I was a problem she refused to look at directly. "Dad," Marcus said, "open the door." "This is open enough." His jaw tightened. "We need to talk." "We are." "What is this notice?" "A legal document. You can't kick us out of our home." "It's not your home." His face changed. Just a flicker. Fear under anger. "You said that house was for us." "I said I would help you stay in it. I never said I would fund it forever while being treated like a stranger." "Dad." "It was one day." "No," I said. "It was 12 years. Yesterday was just the day you put it in writing." Vanessa got out of the SUV then, slamming the door. "This is financial abuse," she snapped, marching up the walk. I looked at her over Marcus's shoulder. "Be careful with words you don't understand. You embarrassed my mother in front of everyone." I removed my card from charges I didn't approve. "It was Lily's wedding." "Yes," I said. "And you used my granddaughter's wedding to erase my wife, exclude me, and run up my account." Vanessa's face flushed. Marcus turned. "Vanessa, let me handle this." "No," she said. "I am done being polite to him." She pointed at me. You are a bitter old man who couldn't stand not being the center of attention. I looked past her to the hydrangeas. For 1 second, I saw Elaine kneeling there with dirt on her gloves. Then I looked back. You told me not to come. You were going to make people uncomfortable. My grief made you uncomfortable. My money did not. Marcus flinched. Vanessa opened her mouth, but no words came. I unhooked the chain and stepped onto the porch. Not because I was inviting them in, because I wanted to stand upright in the morning light. Here is what happens now, I said. You have 30 days under the agreement you both signed. Your belongings stay yours. Your dignity is your responsibility. If you want to fight it, call a lawyer. Denise Carter has all documents ready. Marcus looked smaller than I had ever seen him. Dad, he said, and for the first time his voice sounded like the boy who used to call for me after nightmares. Where are we supposed to go? That question hurt. Of course it did. A father's heart does not stop being a father's heart just because it has finally grown a spine. I don't know, I said softly. But for years, whenever I had a problem, I solved it quietly so you wouldn't have to feel it. I'm done doing that. Vanessa scoffed. Lily will never forgive you. I looked at Marcus. Don't put that on her. He looked away. Don't you dare put this on that girl, I said, my voice sharper now. She called me yesterday because she didn't even know I had been uninvited. You lied to her on her wedding day. Vanessa's mouth tightened. Marcus whispered, I didn't know she called you. That's been the trouble, son. You stopped knowing a lot of things. They left without another word. For 30 days, there were messages, some angry, some desperate, some written by Marcus, some clearly dictated by Vanessa. They accused me of destroying the family, of choosing money over blood, of punishing them for one mistake. One mistake. That phrase kept appearing. So one afternoon, I sat down and made a list. Not for court, not for them, for myself. The unpaid trust payments. The credit cards I had covered. The school tuition loan, never repaid. The SUV repairs. The vacation deposits. The home insurance. The emergency account withdrawals. The birthdays where I was handed the bill. The holidays where I cooked, paid, cleaned, and went home alone. The way Vanessa corrected Lily when she called me Grandpa Hal in front of her parents because she thought it sounded too country. The way Marcus stopped dropping by unless something was wrong. By the time I finished, the page was full. It had not been one mistake. It had been a lifestyle. On the 29th day, Marcus came alone. He looked tired in a way expensive clothes couldn't hide. He stood on my porch, holding a cardboard box. Vanessa and I are staying with her parents for now, he said. I nodded. He handed me the box. Inside were framed photos from the house. Some of Elaine, some of Lily, as a child. Some I had forgotten existed. I thought you should have these, he said. That was the first decent thing he had done in a long while. Thank you. He shoved his hands into his pockets. I'm sorry about Mom, he said. I waited. I'm sorry we acted like talking about her was a problem. My eyes burned, but I kept my voice steady. Your mother loved you beyond reason. I know. No, I said. I don't think you do, but I hope someday you will. He nodded, staring at the porch boards. Lily wants to see you when she gets back from her honeymoon. I'd like that. She's upset with us. She has a right to be. He swallowed. Do you hate me? Brothers and sisters, that is the kind of question that can make an old man feel every year of his life at once. No, I said, but I don't trust you with my peace anymore. He looked like I had slapped him. Maybe I had in the only way left. 31 days after the wedding, Denise filed the final paperwork. Marcus and Vanessa moved out without a legal fight. Maybe her parents told them they didn't have a case. Maybe the money ran too thin. Maybe, for once, they understood that paperwork does not care about family speeches. The house sat empty for 2 weeks. I went there once. The pantry door still had Lily's height marks. Elaine's rosebush was blooming in the front yard, stubborn and pink. I stood in the living room and remembered birthday candles, Christmas wrapping paper, Marcus asleep on the couch after Thanksgiving dinner, Lily running through the hallway in socks. I did not feel victory. That surprised me. I felt grief, but it was honest grief, clean grief, not the muddy kind that comes from pretending people are loving you while they drain you dry. I decided not to sell the house right away. Instead, I rented it to a young couple from our church whose apartment had flooded. They had 2 little boys and a baby girl, and when I handed them the keys, the mother cried because she had been praying for a safe place with a yard. A month later, I drove by and saw chalk drawings on the driveway. Dinosaurs, rainbows, a crooked sun. Elaine would have liked that. Lily came to see me on a Sunday afternoon in October. She wore jeans, no makeup, and Elaine's pearl pin on the collar of her denim jacket. When I opened the door, she walked straight into my arms and cried like the little girl who used to scrape her knees on my driveway. "I'm sorry, Grandpa," she said over and over. I held her and told her the truth. "You have nothing to apologize for." We sat in the kitchen. I made grilled cheese, because that had always been our thing. She told me about the wedding, carefully at first, then honestly. She said she felt something was wrong all day. She said Rachel from the venue slipped her the box and note while Vanessa was arguing with the bartender. She said when she pinned Elaine's pearl to her bouquet, she felt brave. "I should have stopped it," she said. "No," I told her. "Children should not have to parent their parents on their wedding day." She nodded, crying again. Then she reached across the table and took my hand. "Mom says you tore the family apart." I looked at our hands, mine spotted and rough, hers smooth and young. "No, sweetheart," I said. "I stopped paying to hold together what was already broken." That became the lesson I carried forward. For most of my life, I believed generosity could buy belonging, not in an ugly way, not consciously. I just thought if I showed up, fixed things, paid for things, made life easier, then there would always be a chair for me at the table. But some people don't see a chair. They see a service entrance. And the moment you stop carrying trays through it, they accuse you of ruining dinner. Let me tell you what I know now, brothers and sisters. Love does not require you to disappear. Family does not mean unlimited access to your savings. Respect is not something you purchase with checks, favors, silence, or self-abandonment. The people who love you may need help sometimes. We all do. But they will still see your face when your hands are empty. The people who use you will call your empty hands betrayal. 6 months after the wedding, I did something Elaine had begged me to do for 20 years. I bought a small used fishing boat, nothing fancy. 16 feet, faded blue stripe, motor that coughs before it catches. Walt helped me haul it to Center Hill Lake the first time, laughing at me because I packed enough sandwiches for an army. We sat there all afternoon, catching almost nothing, which was exactly the point. My phone stayed in the tackle box. The world did not end. Marcus and I are not fixed. I won't lie to you. We speak sometimes. He is quieter now. Vanessa does not come around. Maybe that is for the best. Lily visits every other Sunday when she can, and Caleb helps me with the gutters, even though I tell him I can still climb a ladder, which is a lie both of us politely ignore. The wedding speech is still folded in my desk. I never gave it. Maybe one day I'll read it to Lily. Maybe I won't. But Elaine's pearl pin is where it belongs now, not in a velvet box waiting for permission, but worn by the granddaughter who remembered the woman behind it. And me? I'm learning to be more than useful. I'm learning to let the phone ring. I'm learning that a quiet house is not the same as an empty life. I'm learning that no is a complete sentence, even when your voice shakes saying it. So I'll ask you what I asked myself that morning at the kitchen table. If you stopped paying, fixing, rescuing, smoothing things over, and making yourself smaller tomorrow, who would still knock on your door just to sit with you? Think hard about that. The answer will tell you who loves you. And it will tell you who only loved the open wallet where your heart used to be. Sometimes the kindest thing we can do is stop confusing love with endless sacrifice. Family should make room for our hearts, not just our help. When we set a quiet boundary, we are not closing the door on love. We are opening a window for respect, truth, and a little peace to come back in.